Have you ever wondered what could happen if you change the way you talk to yourself? What if I told you that just 2 days of adjusting your inner dialogue could completely rewire your brain for success, happiness, and abundance? Sounds incredible, right? But I promise you, it's not just theory. It's a real proven method that has transformed the lives of millions. And it can do the same for you as long as you're willing to take action and apply what I'm about to share with you. For over 40 years, I've studied the thought patterns of some of the world's most successful people, and I can tell you that there's one common thread among them. They've all discovered the extraordinary power of self-talk. Think of your mind as a garden. The thoughts you allow to grow there will determine whether you harvest flowers or weeds in your life. Here's an interesting fact. Your brain processes over 70,000 thoughts a day, and the craziest part? About 80% of those thoughts are the same ones you had yesterday. So, what's the issue? If your thoughts haven't gotten you to where you want to be, then continuing to think the same way will keep you exactly where you are. But when you change your internal dialogue using the formula I'm going to share, something amazing happens in your nervous system. Your brain begins forming new neural connections, which lead to new behaviors, and those new behaviors turn into completely different results in your life. I'm Brian Tracy, and for more than 4 decades, I've studied what sets highly successful people apart from those who remain stuck in limiting patterns. And one of the most powerful differences I've uncovered is this. Successful people have developed an internal dialogue that propels them forward, while most people's self-talk holds them back. Let me share something with you that changed my life forever. Many years ago, when I was a young salesperson struggling to survive, my manager told me something that, at the time, I thought was ridiculous. He said, "Brian, the problem isn't your sales technique, it's not your product, and it's not even the market. The problem is how you talk to yourself before you knock on every door." At first, I thought he was crazy. How could it be that simple? But I decided to give it a try for just 1 week. I completely changed the way I spoke to myself. Instead of telling myself, "I hope this person doesn't reject me," or "I hope this works," I started saying, "I'm a successful professional, helping people improve their lives, and this person needs exactly what I'm offering." You know what happened? In just 1 week, my sales tripled. I didn't change my technique, my product, or my territory. The only thing that changed was how I spoke to myself. And that was just the beginning of a transformation that took me from being an average worker to building a personal and professional empire. Now, I want you to understand something crucial about how your mind works. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what's real and what you vividly imagine. It doesn't differentiate between an event that actually happened and one that you visualize with enough emotional detail. This is the key to everything. When you change your inner dialogue, you're literally reprogramming your subconscious mind to look for opportunities, generate ideas, and create behaviors that align with that new programming. Have you ever noticed that when you start thinking about buying a red car, suddenly, you begin seeing red cars everywhere? It's not that there are suddenly more red cars on the road. What's happening is that your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information, is now programmed to notice red cars. It's the same when you change your internal dialogue. Your brain starts noticing opportunities, ideas, and possibilities that you previously missed. Let me give you a concrete example. I once worked with a woman named Sarah, who at 45 years old felt completely stuck in her career. For years she had been telling herself, "It's too late to change. I don't have the skills. Who's going to hire me at my age?" These internal conversations had created a reality where she truly felt invisible in the job market. We worked together to change her inner dialogue. Instead of saying, "It's too late," she started saying, "I have decades of valuable experience to offer." Instead of saying, "I don't have the skills," she said, "I'm an agile learner who can master any skill I need." And instead of saying, "Who's going to hire me?" she told herself, "I'm exactly what the right company is looking for." You know what happened? In less than 3 weeks, 3 different people mentioned job opportunities to her. Her posture changed, her energy shifted, and the way she presented herself was completely transformed. It wasn't magic. It was the power of conscious self-talk transforming her external reality. Now, I want to teach you the exact formula you need to use. It's not enough to just say generic positive affirmations. It needs to be specific, personal, and emotionally activating. The formula has 3 components: identity, capability, and destiny. First, identity. Instead of talking about what you're not or what you don't have, start each day by declaring who you are at your highest expression. But it can't be superficial. It has to resonate deeply with you. For example, instead of saying, "I hope to have more money," you say, "I am a person who creates economic value wherever I go." Do you feel the difference? One is passive hope, the other is active identity. Next, let's dive into the second component, capability. This is where you acknowledge and declare your abilities, both the ones you already possess and the ones you're actively developing. You can say, I have the capacity to learn any skill I need to achieve my goals, or I have the intelligence and persistence to solve any problem that comes my way. You might even say, the experiences I've had in life have given me unique wisdom that I can apply to any situation. Have you ever considered this? Most people obsess over what they don't have or what they feel is missing, but successful people focus on what they already possess, the abundance of resources, skills, and experiences that have equipped them for success. Changing this mindset through your internal dialogue is nothing short of revolutionary. And finally, the third component, destiny. This is where you connect your present to the future you desire. Start telling yourself things like, I am on the path to becoming the best version of myself, or every day, I'm getting closer to living the life I truly desire. Another powerful one could be, my future is brighter than my past because I am taking the right actions today. But here's the crucial part that most people overlook. It's not enough to say these things once a day like a mantra. You must integrate them into your ongoing internal dialogue. When you wake up in the morning, before you check your phone or start worrying about the day ahead, dedicate the first 5 minutes to this empowering self-talk. When you're preparing for an important meeting, instead of imagining all the worst-case scenarios, speak to yourself as the successful person you already are. When you face a challenge, instead of saying, why does this always happen to me? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? How can I use this to grow? Imagine how different your life would be if, for just 2 days, you replaced every limiting thought with these empowering new conversations. I'm not talking about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring reality. I'm talking about shifting your perspective on reality in a way that activates your internal resources rather than paralyzing them. Let me tell you about another client of mine, a man named Michael, who was 52 years old when he lost his job after working for 20 years at the same company. He'd been telling himself, nobody hires people my age. The job market has changed too much. I should just settle for any job I can get. But after we worked together, he changed his internal dialogue. He began telling himself, my 2 decades of experience make me incredibly valuable to companies. I adapt quickly to change because I've navigated many transformations in my career. I deserve and will find a job that appreciates my unique contributions. Do you know what happened? Not only did he land one job offer, but he received 2 simultaneous job offers, both with higher salaries than his previous position. When I asked him what had changed, he said, Brian, nothing changed externally. I changed how I saw myself, and suddenly, the world started seeing me differently too. This brings us to a fundamental principle I've observed over the years. Your external world is always a reflection of your internal world. When you change your internal dialogue, you change your energy. When you change your energy, you change how you present yourself to the world. And when you change how you present yourself to the world, you change how the world responds to you. Now, I want you to do something with me. Think about an area of your life where you feel stuck or unsatisfied. Maybe it's your career, your relationships, your health, or your finances. Got it? Good. Now, ask yourself honestly, how have you been talking to yourself about this area of your life? What internal conversations have you been holding? Most people are shocked when they realize just how negative and limiting their usual inner dialogue is. Phrases like, this always happens to me. I'm not good at this. It's too hard. Or, I'm just unlucky. Every single one of these is a direct command to your subconscious mind. You're telling it what to look for, what to expect, how to behave, and your subconscious, being the obedient system it is, simply follows those instructions. But here's the incredible news. You can change those instructions at any time, and when you do, the results will begin to show up so quickly, it'll feel almost miraculous. But there's no magic here. It's simply the power of consciously directed thought, aimed at specific outcomes. Now, I want to teach you a specific technique I call the instant replacement. Every time you catch yourself thinking a limiting thought about yourself or your situation, you immediately replace it with its empowering opposite. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, I'm not sure if I can do this, replace it with, I have all the resources I need to succeed in this, and if I need to learn something new, I have the ability to learn it quickly. If you're thinking, this is too difficult, immediately replace it with, this is a perfect opportunity for me to grow and demonstrate my abilities. If you're thinking, what if I fail? Replace it with, What if I succeed in an extraordinary way? Now, what do you think would happen if you started doing this today? What would happen if, for the next 2 days, you committed to consciously monitoring and replacing every limiting thought related to yourself and your potential? I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen, because I've seen it thousands of times. First, you're going to notice that you have a lot more limiting thoughts than you realized. This might be a bit shocking at first, but it's actually a blessing in disguise because you can't change what you don't recognize. Second, you're going to feel some initial resistance. Your mind is used to operating a certain way, and any change, even positive change, will initially feel uncomfortable. This is completely normal and temporary. Third, by the second day, you'll start to notice subtle shifts in how you feel, how you move, and how you interact with others. Your energy will be different. Your posture will change. The way you speak will be different. And fourth, within the first week, you'll begin to see changes in how others respond to you and in the opportunities that start to appear in your life. This is not coincidence, it's cause and effect. Let me share a personal story that perfectly illustrates this principle. A few years ago, I was going through a particularly tough time in my business. Revenue had dropped, some key projects hadn't worked out as expected, and I found myself falling into a negative pattern of self-talk. I started telling myself things like, maybe I've already passed my prime, the market has changed too much. Young entrepreneurs have advantages I don't have. Naturally, the more I repeated these thoughts, the more evidence I found to support them. It became a vicious cycle. Then, one day, I realized what I was doing. I recognized that I had allowed my external circumstances to dictate my internal dialogue, and that was creating more of the very circumstances I didn't want. So, I decided to do an experiment with myself. For 30 days, I was going to consciously monitor and change every limiting thought I had about my situation. Instead of thinking, maybe I've already passed my prime, I started telling myself, my best years are ahead of me because I have more wisdom and experience than ever. Instead of saying, the market has changed too much, I replaced it with, I'm an expert adapter who thrives in any market. And instead of thinking, young entrepreneurs have advantages I don't have, I told myself, my experience gives me unique perspectives that are incredibly valuable. The results were extraordinary. In those 30 days, not only did my business recover, but it reached levels I hadn't seen in years. New opportunities appeared, fresh ideas emerged, and valuable connections were made. Did the market change? No. Did I suddenly develop new skills? No. What changed was my internal dialogue. And that shift changed everything else. Here's something crucial I want you to understand. Your internal dialogue doesn't just affect how you feel, it directly impacts how you act. And how you act determines your results. It's a direct chain of cause and effect. Thoughts, emotions, actions, and results. When you consciously change the first link in that chain, you automatically change all the others. This is why the process works so quickly and powerfully. Now, let me give you a few specific examples of empowering internal dialogue that you can start using right away, tailored to different areas of your life. For your career, you might say, I am someone who adds extraordinary value wherever I work. Or, my unique talents are recognized and generously rewarded. You could also say, every challenge at work is an opportunity to showcase my abilities and advance my career. For relationships, try saying, I am worthy of love and respect. Or, I attract healthy, enriching relationships into my life. You could also say, I communicate my needs clearly and confidently, and I support others in doing the same. For health, try, my body is strong, vital, and heals naturally. Or, I make decisions that nourish and energize my body. You might also say, I feel better every day, in every way. For finances, say, I am a creator of wealth. Or, money flows to me from multiple sources. You can also say, I make wise financial decisions that build long-term abundance. And for personal growth, try saying, I am constantly growing and evolving into the best version of myself. Or, I embrace challenges as opportunities to grow. You could also say, my potential is limitless. Do you notice something about these statements? They are all in the present tense, they are all empowering, and they position you as the active creator of your life, rather than a victim of circumstances. This is absolutely essential. Your internal dialogue should always position you as powerful, capable, and in control of your destiny. This doesn't mean you deny challenges or pretend everything is perfect. It means you choose a perspective that activates your internal resources rather than paralyzing them. Here's something that most personal development experts don't tell you. Consistency is far more important than intensity. It's far more effective to change your internal dialogue subtly and consistently throughout the day than to do a heavy affirmation session in the morning and then slip back into limiting patterns the rest of the day. Think of it like watering a plant. A sudden flood of water once in a while doesn't work as well as consistent, regular watering. Your subconscious mind responds much better to consistent, repeated messages than to intense but sporadic ones. This means you need to develop what I call internal dialogue awareness. Throughout the day, you need to be mindful of the conversations you're having with yourself. At first, this will take conscious effort, but after about a week, it will become automatic. One practical technique I recommend is setting subtle alarms on your phone every 2 hours for the first few days. When the alarm goes off, take 30 seconds to ask yourself, how have I been talking to myself in the past 2 hours? If you notice any limiting patterns, simply replace them with empowering alternatives. Another powerful technique is what I call the mirror dialogue. Every morning, look yourself in the eye in the mirror and have a conversation with yourself. Tell yourself the things you need to hear that day. It might feel strange at first, but it's incredibly powerful because you're combining verbal communication with direct eye contact with yourself. Now, let's explore the power of questions in your internal dialogue. Most people don't realize how important the questions they ask themselves are. Instead of making limiting statements like, I can't do this, or why is this happening to me? Start asking empowering questions like, how can I make this happen? Or what do I need to learn to succeed in this situation? Questions direct your mind towards solutions instead of problems. When you ask, why is this always happening to me? Your mind will find reasons that reinforce your victimhood. But when you ask, what can I learn from this situation? Or, how can I grow from this? Your mind will start searching for opportunities and ways to improve. Take a moment to write this down. The questions you ask yourself determine the answers you get. And the answers you get determine the actions you take. And the actions you take lead to the results you achieve. Let's look at how this applies in real life. Imagine you're facing a financial challenge. Your typical internal dialogue might sound something like, why do I never have enough money? Or, why am I so bad with finances? These questions will only lead to answers that make you feel worse about your situation. Instead, if you change those questions to something like, what skills can I develop to increase my income? Or, what expenses can I eliminate to improve my financial situation? Your brain will automatically begin searching for solutions rather than reasons to feel helpless. You see the difference? Some challenge, but with a completely different mindset. One mindset keeps you stuck, while the other opens up a world of possibilities and solutions. Let me give you another example. Imagine you've been struggling in a relationship. Your usual inner dialogue might be, why do I always end up in unhealthy relationships? Or, why does this always happen to me? These types of questions focus on the negative and keep you locked in a cycle of frustration. Instead, try shifting the questions to, what can I do to create healthier relationships? Or, what can I learn from this experience that will help me grow? These questions will start to guide your mind toward constructive solutions and self-improvement, rather than reinforcing feelings of helplessness. As you start asking better questions, your mind will begin focusing on the opportunities and resources around you. You'll start noticing solutions that were previously hidden from view. It's like flipping a switch from scarcity to abundance, from helplessness to empowerment. Now, I want to talk about something I've noticed in thousands of successful people I've worked with. They all have something in common in their internal dialogue. They talk to themselves as if they've already become the person they want to be. They don't say someday, I'll be successful. They say, I am a successful person who is building on my past successes. They don't say, I hope to find love. They say, I am a loving person who attracts amazing relationships into my life. They don't say, I wish I were in better shape. They say, I am a healthy person who makes choices that support my well-being. This is not self-deception. It's the conscious programming of your subconscious identity. Your subconscious doesn't question what you tell it. It simply accepts what you repeat as truth, and then it looks for ways to make your external reality match your internal programming. Imagine how different your behavior would be if you truly saw yourself as successful, capable, and deserving of all the best things life has to offer. Would you walk differently, speak differently, make different decisions? Would you seek out different opportunities? Of course, you would. And here's the magic. When you start acting like the person you want to be, you start getting the results of that person. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. Think about how this applies to your own life. Who do you want to become? how would that person talk to themselves? What kind of internal dialogue would that version of you maintain? Take a moment now to imagine that you're already that person. How would you handle the current challenges in your life? What would you say about the opportunities in front of you? How would you describe your capabilities and potential? Those are the exact conversations you need to start having with yourself today. Don't wait for your circumstances to change in order to change your internal dialogue. Change your internal dialogue to change your circumstances. This reminds me of one of the most powerful lessons I learned early in my career. I had the opportunity to observe an incredibly successful CEO during a major crisis in his company. While everyone else was panicking, talking about everything that could go wrong, he maintained a completely different internal dialogue. I overheard him muttering to himself, "This is exactly the kind of situation that separates exceptional leaders from the average ones. I have the experience and wisdom to navigate this successfully. My team trusts my leadership because I always find creative solutions." Not only did he successfully navigate the crisis, but the company came out stronger than before. His positive internal dialogue translated into clearer decisions, more effective communication, and more strategic actions. That day, I realized that your internal dialogue isn't just some fluffy, esoteric concept. It's one of the most practical and powerful tools you have to influence your results in the real world. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to challenge you to take action. I call this the 2-day challenge. Over the next 2 days, I want you to completely commit to changing your internal dialogue. No matter what is going on in your life, you're going to speak to yourself as the successful, capable, and powerful person you truly are. Day 1. Focus on recognizing your patterns. Every time you catch yourself thinking a limiting thought, simply acknowledge it without judgment. Just note it. Interesting. I'm telling myself that I'm not good enough. Awareness is the first step toward change. Day 2. Focus on active replacement. Each limiting thought is immediately replaced with its empowering opposite. If you catch yourself thinking, "This is too difficult," replace it with, "I have the skills to handle this successfully." If you think, "I'm not sure I can do this," change it to, "I have all the resources I need to succeed, and if I need to learn something new, I can do it quickly." What do you think is going to happen after just 2 days of this exercise? Let me tell you. First, you'll notice that you have far more limiting thoughts than you realized. This may be a little shocking at first, but it's actually a blessing in disguise. You can't change what you don't recognize. Second, you'll feel some resistance. Your mind is used to operating a certain way, and any change, even a positive one, will feel uncomfortable at first. This is totally normal and temporary. Third, by the second day, you'll begin to notice small shifts in how you feel, how you move, and how you interact with others. Your energy will be different. Your posture will change. Your way of speaking will be different. And fourth, within the first week, you'll start to notice how others respond to you differently and the opportunities that begin to show up in your life. This is not a coincidence. It's cause and effect. Let me share a story to illustrate this principle. A few years ago, I was going through a difficult period in my business. My revenue was down. A few major projects hadn't worked out as expected, and I found myself slipping into negative thought patterns. I was telling myself things like, "Maybe my best years are behind me," and "the market has changed too much," and "young entrepreneurs have advantages that I don't have." The more I repeated these thoughts, the more evidence I found to support them. It was like a never-ending cycle of negativity. But one day, I realized what was happening. I had allowed my external circumstances to dictate my internal dialogue, and as a result, I was creating more of the situations I didn't want. So, I decided to experiment with myself. For 30 days, I consciously monitored and changed every limiting thought I had about my situation. Instead of telling myself, "Maybe my best years are behind me," I began saying, "My best years are ahead of me because I have more wisdom and experience than ever." Instead of saying, "The market has changed too much," I told myself, "I'm an expert at adapting, and I thrive in any market." Instead of thinking, "Young entrepreneurs have advantages I don't have," I said, "My experience gives me unique perspectives that are incredibly valuable." The results were extraordinary. In those 30 days, not only did my business recover, but it reached levels I hadn't seen in years. New opportunities emerged. Fresh ideas appeared. Value-add connections were made. Did the market change? No. Did I suddenly develop new skills? No. What changed was my internal dialogue, and that shift changed everything. Now, here's something crucial for you to understand. Your internal dialogue doesn't just impact how you feel, it directly influences how you act. And how you act determines your results. It's a direct chain of cause and effect, thoughts, emotions, actions, and results. When you consciously change the first link in the chain, you automatically change everything that follows. This is why this process is so powerful. Let's put this into action. I want you to try the 2-day challenge for yourself. For the next 2 days, consciously replace every limiting thought with an empowering one. After just 48 hours, I guarantee you'll feel different. You'll notice changes in your energy, your confidence, and how you approach the world. You'll be amazed at how quickly your inner world begins to reflect the change in your thinking. You might be wondering, what happens after the 2-day challenge? The truth is, you're just getting started. The most important part is the consistency with which you continue to apply this new way of thinking. It's not about doing this for a short period of time and then reverting back to your old habits. It's about making these new conversations with yourself a permanent part of your daily routine. Remember, the consistency of your internal dialogue is key. It's better to make small, subtle changes consistently throughout the day than to have one intense affirmation session in the morning and then fall back into old patterns. Think of it like watering a plant. Occasional floods of water aren't as effective as consistently nurturing the plant with the right amount of water each day. Your subconscious responds best to repetitive, consistent messages. This is why it's so important to develop what I call awareness of your internal dialogue. During the day, you need to stay conscious of the conversations you're having with yourself. At first, this will require effort, but after a week or so, it'll become automatic. A great technique to practice is setting alarms on your phone every 2 hours, especially in the beginning. When the alarm goes off, take a quick 30-second pause and ask yourself, how have I been talking to myself in the last 2 hours? If you notice any limiting thoughts, replace them immediately with empowering alternatives. Another powerful tool is the mirror dialogue. Every morning, look yourself in the eye in the mirror and have a conversation with yourself. Tell yourself everything you need to hear to start your day off on the right foot. At first, it may feel strange, but it's incredibly powerful because you're combining verbal communication with direct eye contact. You'll be amazed at how much this simple act can transform your self-perception. Let's go a step further. I want you to consider the types of questions you're asking yourself in your internal dialogue. Instead of asking, why is this always happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this situation? Or how can I turn this challenge into an opportunity? When you ask empowering questions, your brain shifts its focus from problems to solutions. It will seek out answers that will move you toward growth and success, rather than reinforcing limiting beliefs. Remember, the questions you ask yourself direct your mind's energy. Why am I struggling with this? Leads to feelings of frustration. What skills do I need to learn to overcome this? Opens the door to possibility and action. The key here is to ask yourself questions that activate your problem-solving abilities. The quality of the questions you ask shapes the quality of the answers you get, and those answers determine the actions you take, which ultimately lead to the results you achieve. So, let's apply this to a specific example. Suppose you're facing a financial challenge. Your typical internal dialogue might sound like, why can't I ever seem to get ahead? Or, why am I so bad with money? Those types of questions will only fuel more negative thoughts and keep you stuck. Instead, ask questions like, what can I do to increase my income? Or, what can I eliminate to improve my financial situation? Or even, what are successful people doing to manage their finances? And how can I learn from them? Do you see how different that is? You've shifted the focus from what's wrong to what you can do to make things right. And this shift in thinking leads to an entirely different set of actions and outcomes. As you begin to practice this, you'll notice that the world around you starts responding differently. Opportunities will appear where there once seemed to be none. You'll feel more confident, energized, and ready to take on new challenges. This transformation won't just be internal, it will show up in every area of your life, from your career to your relationships to your health and beyond. Now, I want to leave you with one last thought. The most successful people in the world don't wait for circumstances to change before they change their mindset. They don't wait for the world to give them permission to be successful. They act as if they are already the person they want to become. And because of that, their actions and results reflect their belief in themselves. Think about it, successful people speak to themselves as though they are already successful. They don't say, I hope I'll be rich one day. They say, I am someone who creates wealth and opportunities wherever I go. They don't say, someday I'll find the right relationship. They say, I am a loving person who attracts amazing, fulfilling relationships into my life. They don't say, I wish I could be healthier. They say, I am a healthy person who makes choices that support my well-being. This isn't self-deception, it's programming your subconscious mind to align with the person you are becoming. Your subconscious doesn't question your identity, it simply accepts what you repeatedly tell it, and then it looks for ways to make your external reality match your internal programming. Imagine how your life would change if you saw yourself as successful, capable, and deserving of everything good that life has to offer. You would carry yourself differently. You would make decisions differently. You would take different actions. And as you start acting like the person you want to be, you will start getting the results of that person. So, I encourage you to apply these principles right now. Don't wait for the perfect time. Start changing your internal dialogue today. Speak to yourself like the person you're becoming. Be consistent, be aware, and be committed. Your world will begin to shift, and the opportunities you once thought were out of reach will suddenly be within your grasp. The power to transform your life is in your hands through the simple, but incredibly powerful, act of changing how you speak to yourself. And as you do this, I want you to remember one thing. The conversation you have with yourself every single day determines the quality of your life. So speak to yourself like you would speak to someone you love deeply. You deserve it. If you found this video helpful, and if you feel even a spark of possibility about what could change in your life when you take control of your internal dialogue, then do something powerful right now. Subscribe to this channel. I share tools, strategies, and principles every week to help you reach your full potential. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, because you won't want to miss the next videos. Each one is designed to give you practical tools you can apply immediately to transform your life personally, professionally, and spiritually. But more importantly than subscribing to this channel, subscribe to your own growth. Commit to changing the way you talk to yourself. Because here's the truth I've learned after decades of helping people transform their lives. The most important conversation you have every day isn't with your boss, your partner, or your children. It's the conversation you have with yourself. And the quality of that conversation determines the quality of your life. Be impeccable with that conversation. Talk to yourself as if you're speaking to someone you love deeply, and someone you completely believe in, because that person is you. When you start noticing the changes in your energy, your confidence, the opportunities that start showing up in your life, and how others respond to you, come back and leave a comment. I love hearing how these ideas are transforming lives. Remember, you are one decision away from completely transforming your life. That decision is to change how you speak to yourself. Make that decision now. Take action today. Your future self will thank you forever.